Hello everybody and welcome to We Shouldn't Be Here's Horror Narrations and Movie Reviews. In this video we're going to review 2018's Halloween. This movie was directed by David Gordon Green and it stars the infamous Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, Judy Greer as Karen, Andy Mitychak as Allison, Haluk Bilginer as Dr. Sartain, and Will Patton as Officer Hawkins. And the plot of the movie goes like this. Laurie Strode comes to her final confrontation with Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades ago. Now this movie is the direct sequel to 1978's Halloween. They threw out all of the other sequels that came out and this one is the direct sequel. If you're a fan of the original, just like I am, then you know you loved it and you know you were anticipating this movie very highly. So did we go to this movie to go see another slasher film or just another modern day horror movie? Or did we go to this movie to see Michael Myers once again and Jamie Lee Curtis reprise her role as Laurie Strode? And yes, it was to see Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers once again. So let's talk about Jamie Lee Curtis's acting. If you remember her acting from the first movie, it was a little questionable. I don't think it was that good. Her crying seemed a little bit and her acting seemed a little bit as well. But in this movie, you can definitely tell that she's a seasoned actress now, and her acting was phenomenal. One major thing that I loved about this movie was the tension that was built from the very beginning opening of the movie. You have the two doctors that come in and they see Michael Myers in the insane asylum and they end up showing his mask. Everything you saw in the trailer. And that scene is very, very intense. It's more intense in the movie than it was in the trailer. And every time you had Michael Myers on the screen, he was intense. Everything around him was intense. The murders were intense. They should have just renamed this movie Halloween Intense. I'm going to do a lot of comparing this movie to the 1978 original because it is the direct sequel. And one thing that I remember from the original is that Michael Myers was a force. He was just a crazy guy who escaped from a mental asylum and just targeted this one random girl. But at the end of the day, he didn't really do much in the original. He killed a few people, yeah, but that was about it. But in this movie, you really get to see the force that Michael Myers is. There was a few moments in this movie that I would call comic relief. And it was done by the dad and by the young little boy who was being babysat in the movie. They said some funny things, they said some off-the-wall type of statements that made you chuckle and everything, but I felt it wasn't really needed. There were a few jump scares in this movie that definitely worked and were effective, but I can say that the jump scares weren't the thing that made this movie scary. It definitely was Michael Myers. He was the thing that made this movie scary. And not only was this just a really good Halloween sequel, but it was also a really good movie. Because I don't feel like this movie was really a horror movie as much as it was a revenge and a vengeance movie. Because Laurie Strode, her whole thing that happened since back in 1978 was just her preparing for the day that she confronts Michael Myers for the final time. And she wanted to be ready, so she went crazy, kind of, and she started learning how to shoot guns, how to take self-defense classes. She has like this cabin that's in the woods, and she just gets it ready for defense, and she gets it ready to attack Michael Myers if he ever came and found her. And what I loved about Laurie Strode in this movie was that in other movies there are times when a woman fights a man and you can tell it's choreographed and you can tell like this probably wouldn't go down in real life the way it was, but she seemed prepared. And I can tell you that Jamie Lee Curtis knocked the ball out of the park. When she was fighting Michael Myers or when she was shooting guns, it seemed authentic. It didn't seem like the director told her, okay, you're gonna fight and you're gonna win a little bit. It seemed like she actually could handle her own because she's been preparing this for 40 years. Now with every great movie, there's always going to be some flaws. And the flaws that I found was definitely the dad role in the movie. I had a problem with him because at times in the beginning, he made some off-color humor jokes and the daughter referred to him as dad, but then there's a moment where they can't find the daughter and they're trying to call her on her phone and she's not answering. And the dad seems to just be kind of goofing off in the background because I felt like if he was a real dad, he would be concerned for the safety of his daughter. And I didn't get that from him, so it was a little frustrating. Also, the doctor in the movie, which I understand why there's a doctor and a cop in the movie, and it's because they're trying to mimic how it kind of was with Dr. Sam Loomis in the first movie, and him with the cop. They're searching for Michael Myers, and I get that. But I didn't feel like he needed to be in the movie. It's fine that he was in there, but there's also a moment where he ends up killing the police officer because he wants to feel the way Michael Myers feels when he kills somebody, and he wants to try and understand what it feels like and why he does it. But it just didn't seem authentic. That seemed like the director said, you're going to kill him, so do it like this. Here's a cool little pen knife object, and go for it. it just didn't seem like something that I would predict would happen in an authentic type of way. Two more things that bothered me in this movie were some of the characters. The daughter, or granddaughter, she did not need to be in this movie one bit. She almost did nothing for the plot, and her little B story did really nothing for the plot as well. I think maybe it was just to throw her in as a nod to the first one because she had a few babysitter friends. And even a cool line in the movie was they're talking about the babysitter murders, which actually was the original title for Halloween back in '78 before they changed it to Halloween. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I felt like her storyline, her acting, it could have been a great movie without her, and it was still a great movie with her, but she really wasn't needed. And my last and final gripe with this movie was that they showed Michael Myers without his mask too much, in my opinion. They never showed his face, which was a plus, because that totally would have humanized the character. But I think one thing that terrifies all of us about Michael Myers is that he wears a mask, you don't know who he is, you don't know what he looks like, you don't know what his issue is with why he's a killer and why he wants to hunt down Laurie Strode. It's a mystery, and the mystery is what scares you. But when they showed his gray hair and his gray beard, you can tell he's an older guy, and at the end of the day, you can tell that he's a human. And for some reason, that just makes him less scary. So I would have wiped all those scenes out, in my opinion. And it's a shame that they had him shown without the mask as often as they did. So since we are watching a horror slasher movie, let's talk about some of the kills. I loved the kills that they had in this movie. They definitely were way more gruesome than they were back in '78. In '78, yes, you saw a few stranglings, and you saw him stab the boyfriend through the chest into the wall, which was awesome and amazing, but it wasn't graphic and it wasn't gory. It just wasn't. If you're looking for gore, you didn't get that in the original one. But in this movie, it definitely was way more gory and gruesome than I ever imagined it would be. But at the end of the day, it wasn't too gruesome. It wasn't too grotesque, and that's what I liked about it, was that they weren't trying to show you somebody's intestines getting ripped out or somebody's neck bone getting ripped out of their face or their mouth. They didn't overly do it, and that's one thing that I super appreciated about this movie, is that they had class, if you can say killing has class. So now I want to talk about my favorite kills of this brand new movie that came out. The boyfriend against the wall. There's a scene where Michael Myers is attacking one of the granddaughter's friends who's babysitting that little boy, and she's running away and she's screaming, and the boyfriend hears her and he grabs a knife, and that's the last thing you see of him until you see Michael Myers walking down the stairs, and he walks past the guy, and all of a sudden the guy is up against the wall with a knife stabbed through his throat, pinned against the wall, just like the boyfriend in 1978 was, except the difference is he was stabbed through the neck and his body was turned around so he was facing the wall. It was disgusting and it was amazing, and everyone in my theater went, oh my God. And that is good if you can get everybody's reaction to be the same thing. And my other favorite kill of the movie was you get to follow Michael Myers walking behind a house, and then he comes from behind into the view of the camera, and he walks behind this random lady. She has no connection to the movie, but she's just a random lady, and he walks up and he takes a knife and he grabs her by the hair and he stabs the knife right through the back of her neck, and it comes out the front, and everybody was like, oh, whoa. That was probably the goriest kill of the movie, but it was super cool, super effective, and it just showed you how brutal Michael Myers was, and he's ruthless and he'll kill anybody that gets in his way. Now, one difference from the original 1978 version to now is that you don't get to see Michael Myers walking places. All of a sudden, he just appears, and he's behind the door, or he's outside of your house, or he's in the house. He just appears in places, and you kind of think, you're popping around all different houses. How do you get there? You know what I mean? How are you able to just be in different locations at all times? And what I loved about this movie was that the camera followed Michael Myers walking down the street, walking through behind people's houses, walking into backyards, walking through backyards. You get to follow him, and you end up seeing where he ends up because the camera sticks to him. And I just thought that direction was fantastic. Now, my all-time favorite thing that I loved about this movie, my favorite scene, was the ending. And the ending is Laurie Strode traps Michael Myers downstairs in her basement, and she lights these torches and it just goes up in flames, and Michael Myers is standing there at the bottom of the basement looking up the stairs at her, and he does not move, he doesn't flinch, and the flames engulf him. And to me, it was reminiscent of what I would think would be Satan standing in fire, staring up at you because of how pure evil Michael Myers really is. And he stands there and he gets burned, and it's very, very cool, and it's iconic, and I think it will always be a great memory of this movie when I think back on it. So now let's get into what I would rate 2018's Halloween. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 5 because it has a few flaws, but overall, I think it is really, really well done. The script was really nice. It was acted really, really well. It was great to see Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers back on the screen, and not in a corny reboot type of way, in a great sequel. And that's what I think this movie was a fantastically done horror movie, but not just horror movie, fantastically done movie, and a fantastic direct sequel to 1978's Halloween. Thank you everybody for watching my review of Halloween. Please go down below and comment and tell me what you liked about the movie or what you didn't like about the movie. And if you haven't done so already, please go down below and subscribe to We Shouldn't Be Here, and keep your eyes peeled for a brand new movie review or a brand new horror narration coming to you soon. Thank you. Have a happy Halloween. Bye.